We will now devote the next 60 minutes to the exciting question of how we can or must shape the QI of the future. What are our expectations? Which challenges are in the room and which have to be overcome? What are the opportunities that we have to recognize? To our panel discussion, I said it again, the title of it, The Future of QI, Trends and Challenges. I now warmly welcome here in the representative office, or virtually connected, Mr. Stefan Schnorr, Director General for Digital Innovation Policy at BMWI. We have seen you already. Mrs. Claudia Koch, Accreditation and Conformity Assessment Unit at BAM. Mr. Christoph Winterhalter, Chairman of the Board of Directors at DIN. Mr. Stephan Finke, Managing Director at DAX. Mr. Florian Spiteller, Head of External Relations and Support at DKI. And last but not least, Mr. Frank Lienesch, Head of Department Legal and International Metrology at PTB. I hope our virtual participants can see and hear us.
Very good, yes.
Perfect.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. At the beginning of our discussion, I would like to ask our panelists for a short introductory statement to this overarching question. Where do you see our responsibility and main challenges when we want to create frameworks for inclusive and digital QI? I would like to start with Mr. Schnorr and ask you all the participants, to make your statement not longer than 3 minutes, if possible. Thank you. Mr. Schnorr, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kirsten Redlefs. Thank you so much. And it's indeed a great pleasure for me that we have come together here today to discuss the future and the trends of quality infrastructure. And also from my office here, a very warm welcome to Mrs. Koch, Mr. Finke, Mr. Lienesch, Mr. Winterhalter, and Mr. Spiteller. Indeed, when it comes to quality infrastructure, Germany stands for quality and safety that consumers rely on. We owe these to our network of legislation, our quality infrastructure, institutions, and the established processes. With the advancing digitization, which brings changes to so many areas of our daily life, of our work, consumption and production, we also have to strive to update the quality infrastructure system. As a result of the digital transformation, new products and processes are continually emerging, and that pose new questions to our tried and tested quality assurance measures. This is especially true for complex products that are composed of hardware and software, be it our smart homes or autonomous vehicles. Through updates and upgrades, products can change their state dynamically, even long after being placed on the market. And this is indeed a new challenge for our system. We want to keep our promise to quality also in the digital world. By doing so, we can still rely on proven players in the 5 pillars of the QI. This is metrology, norms and standardization, accreditation, conformity assessment, and market surveillance. But we are also convinced that in order to make our quality infrastructure fit for the digital age, the quality infrastructure itself must build on digital tools. For example, digital twins, digital certification certificates, or the metrology clouds are only examples of a toolbox for a digital quality infrastructure. These tools are currently developed and established within our existing quality infrastructure system. And in addition to digitization, we are facing so much major social transformations and challenges, such as environmental protection, climate change, circular economy, or the achievement of the sustainable goals. All of these require a reliable and effective quality infrastructure, and we need even more comprehensive and efficient quality infrastructure in order not to overburden our companies. This is for my ministry also a very important aspect. At the same time, these challenges can only be met by a global effort, and to do so, we want to work together with our partners worldwide. As digitization bridges regions and countries, we stand for an inclusive perspective. We want to support our international partners in their digital transformation in the same way as we want to learn best practices from these countries everywhere. A modern quality infrastructure must be inclusive, must be transparent and internationally aligned. It must be a living and embracing organism that is adaptable to innovation and digitization. And it should support, as I mentioned, sustainability to meet the challenges of our times. I think we are well prepared for these challenges, but we have to tackle them more forcefully in the future. And so I am looking forward for our discussion with all the experts today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schnorr. And I would invite Frau Koch, Mrs. Koch, to take over.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you for having me here and for raising attention to this topic of quality infrastructure. Because as Mr. Schnorr has illustrated this very, very well, it's so important for all aspects of our life, of our economy, but also especially for the grand challenges like climate change, reaching the SDGs, but also digitalization. So this already means that we all need to work together, so we need a joint approach to that. And we need to have a capable and a strong quality infrastructure for that, one that we need to adapt now to meet those challenges, actually. And if we think back, I think for a long time, quality infrastructure has not been recognized to be that important. So luckily, over the last years, we've actually seen that it's found its place in the spotlight. If you look into the grand technological strategies that we see here in Germany or in Europe, then we see that quality infrastructure is an important part in those strategies. And what needs to happen now is that we translate that into action, also that we raise more awareness, also beyond our own community. This means, for instance, like putting quality infrastructure topics also in the research and development programs of the European Union or of Germany, for instance, because then it accompanies the technological development. But as Mr. Schnorr also pointed out, we need a whole new approach to quality infrastructure. So how do we address those challenges? For instance, digitalization is so complex. We need a new approach to that, one that where the stakeholders come together, where they work on projects on a very practical, very market-oriented, solution-oriented way. And this is where the project QI Digital comes in. The initiative that was triggered by the Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs and that BAM together with the other institutions of the quality infrastructure in Germany have established to come up and to come up with solutions for quality infrastructure, for digitalization, and to provide a whole new ecosystem on how to design a quality infrastructure for the future that is able to tackle those challenges that we are talking about.
Thank you very much. I would like to hand over now to Mr. Winterhalter.
Oh, thank you very much for inviting me and for giving me the possibility to kind of shed some light on the standardization perspective of our quality infrastructure. So international and European trade is facilitated by standardization as a key element of our quality infrastructure. And the primacy of international standards from ISO and IEC, so the international first principle, is a very key element of, let's say, our standardization strategy in Germany and in Europe. And we have agreements in place between European standardization bodies and the international standardization bodies to avoid duplication of work. So the aim is to meet global needs, to ensure all voices heard, and to innovate to meet users' needs. And that is in the core of our digital transformation. But what we always need to have in mind, we want to achieve a situation where we have one standard, one test, used and accepted everywhere. But standardization is and needs to be private sector driven. So it's industry and society who are the driving forces in standardization to ensure market relevance and to keep track of technological progress. Standardization is used in particular by companies as an important strategic instrument. But standardization is also an instrument of deregulation. The public interest is taken into account in standardization, in particular for safeguarding kind of the protection targets such as environmental and consumer protection, occupational health and safety, building safety, and to support the UN SDGs, as already said, and the climate crisis in particular. So networking of stakeholders and the establishment of new processes and open platforms for the coordination to support a coordinated development of relevant standards for the green and the digital transformation. Topics like Industry 4.0, artificial intelligence, circular economy, hydrogen, standardization roadmaps, and the implementation plans needs to qualify the whole quality infrastructure. So what do we need to do? We need to expand our foresight network in order to understand what are the topics, what are the digital trends that we have to pick up as a community. We need to develop and implement suitable programs to attract new and younger experts who can help us with the right expertise to develop these issues. And of course, we need to strengthen cooperation. We cannot continue to act in silos. We have to act as a community, and at the foundation is a cooperation. Cooperation between standardization organizations like ISO, IEC, and ITU, but also with other organizations and with all the institutions along the quality infrastructure chain. But we also need to look internally and look at our technical committees and make them fit for the future by improving the agility and efficiency of our processes using digital tools. So the German standardization institutions, DIN and DKE, they must be catalysts for the digital transformation in the standards world. And we have a project that we call Smart Standards to make standards machine readable. So go away from a document-centric towards a more digital content management service-based standardization process. And it has to be user-centric to develop these new digital processes and to evaluate whether they are fit for purpose. But it's the title of today's event. We have to act united. We have to develop and transform the quality infrastructure system as a whole and work together, coordinated along the whole value chain, from metrology and digital calibration certificates towards digital standards available for accreditation certification, for efficient digitalized conformity assessment methods. So building trust in a connected world, and as ISO puts it, to make lives easier, safer, and better. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Winterhalter. And I would like now to invite Mr. Finke to give his statement, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good afternoon to everybody. For us as the national accreditation body, the main trend and challenge for the quality infrastructure in the future is, of course, also the digitalization. The digitalization is an essential part of our goals, and we as the essential part of the German quality infrastructure, for us, digitalization has two different sides. On one side, of course, it is an important goal for us as a provider of accreditation to improve our services and as, of course, as the whole organization. The central question for us is, what services do we want to and what can we offer in future to our customers? Within the framework of the management of the corona pandemic, for example, we were able to make a huge amount of experience with so-called remote assessments. Now we do know what is possible by using such a digital instrument, and of course what is not possible, because there are still limits of such a digital application. Digitalization, on the other side, is a technical challenge which cannot be solved by one of the players alone. Regarding the development in general, and especially for conformity assessment, we have to find answers on some urgent questions. How can we fulfill our sovereign task within the new circumstances? What is conformity assessment, and how could we still attest the competence of conformity assessment bodies in the future? For example, we have to deal with the full digitalization of quality management manuals, which were in former times sent in to us via paper or as a PDF. Now they are fully digitized, and it's not so easy even to store at our offices. And the other part is we have to face an increasing amount of automation of analysis in our accredited laboratories. What does this mean? In modern laboratories, you can see long rows of analytic robots, which were in the past, a lot of people were working. And for us, the question is, how can we check the competence of these laboratories when we are not able to see how the people were working behind the robots? And the last part, and which is also very much important and which is, but also quite close to us now, is we have to anticipate the role of artificial intelligence in the quality infrastructure. AI is already on its way to produce better results, for example, in analytics, for a special example, in the context of imaging procedures for cancer detection. This is nothing what one player in the QI system can do alone. So we have to work together to come to common solutions for all the open questions. In view of all of this, we need to further develop accreditation in order to keep our professional eye level on these topics. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Finke. And yeah, my next speaker in the statement will be my neighbor here in the representation. The floor is yours, Mr. Spiteller.
Thank you very much. Very good to be your neighbor here. A warm welcome to everyone in the room, but of course, especially a very warm welcome to everyone around the globe. I'm very happy that I can speak to you today here for this event, and I very well remember all the nice travels and the important exchanges we had in the past all together till the pandemic started. And all these exchanges, they led to where we are now, to this event and to the publication we talk about today. So this is very important to remember. And yes, we have some challenges still in front of us. The quality infrastructure, as we know it so far, is not yet ready for the digital problems, for the digital challenges, for the digital world which is ahead of us. So we need to work together and make sure to stay in good touch to solve those. And I have to admit also the standardization part is not yet ready for a digital quality infrastructure and for the digital world. So we have to work on this. For example, and we already heard also in the talk of Mr. Schnorr, this is, in my opinion, one of the good examples when we talk about artificial intelligence and products who evolve when they are in the field and change continuously. How can we deal with this from standardization side, from accreditation side, from testing side, or when we talk about the Industry 4.0 use cases with lot size 1 and we have only a product which exists once. So there is some challenges and we have to solve them with the right way to do digitalization. We have a project for this. It's the EDIS initiative, where we talk about digital standards. This is done by DIN and DKI together, because this is clearly a topic where we have to work together. And it's very important for me, and I'm also proud and happy that we have so many participants of the industry in this project. Not only the industry, all the major stakeholders are there, and they exchange on this project. And I hope during the discussion I can give you some more insights on this EDIS project, because this is really where we think further. We don't just take a standard and make it digital, like having a paper and now we deliver a PDF. That's not digitalization. That's just a digital product, but has nothing to do with digitalization. So we think about machine-readable standards, but even further, machine-interpretable standards, or even further, maybe one day machines can write their standards for other machines, and then the human is just someone who needs a human-readable version in the end. So this is the challenges, and the question was also about the responsibilities, and I have to say, I don't like the word challenges. Yes, there is challenges, but I feel the responsibility for us is to also see the opportunities. And there is a lot of opportunities in digitalization, and this is, for me, one of our main responsibilities, that we don't just see the negative sides or the problems. We need to also go ahead and take those opportunities and make sure we use the digitalization to work together, to be inclusive, to not build new walls, but to take everyone on board. And for me, there lies great potential here. And then we can make our way, and this is what we discuss in the IEC at the moment, to the all-electric society, which will only be possible if we have a good digital infrastructure.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and again, last but not least, I open the floor for Mr. Lienesch.
Yes, thank you very much. And also a warm welcome from my side. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Frank Lienesch, and I'm responsible for the Division 9. It is Legal and International Metrology at the National Metrology Institute of Germany, PDB. Our division comprises the cooperation with the German verification authorities, the calibration offices, the accreditation calibration laboratories, and market surveillance, so the important players in this field. Furthermore, we coordinate international cooperation projects in the area of quality infrastructure for the German government. Yes, metrology. The science of measurement and its application is one of the fundamental pillars of an efficient and effective quality infrastructure. This is what we believe. For example, we can specify and value products only if measurements are accurate and comparable, like exact size and weight. This is since hundreds of years. So metrology enables fair trade. So you get what you paid, protect the society and consumers, threshold for the environment, and informs political decision-making. For instance, like correct information about the global temperature increase. Through research and development, metrology can keep up with technologies that are constantly evolving. On the other hand, international cooperation is crucial if measurements are to be comparable. For these reasons, a country's national metrology system must be embedded internationally if it is to serve an economy with a global perspective. So what are future challenges for national and international metrology and quality infrastructure? For me, social challenges are the energy transition, environment and climate change, and medical quantum technologies, and this in conjunction with the digital transformation. For these topics, new QI services such as measurement standards, reference materials, standards and technical regulations, or certification schemes need to be developed, also with respect to digitalization. This requires both a strong collaboration with the QI system, as shown with the German initiative QI Digital, partnerships with the industry, very important, and of course, international cooperation. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lienesch, and thank you all for this initial overview, or the very deep digging overview already, I would say. Very interesting. I would like now to get into the panel. In this, I would like to discuss a few questions with you. The first one is already answered in some parts in your statements, I would say. But nevertheless, I would like to get more concrete. If we are aware of our responsibility and the primary challenges you mentioned already to create an inclusive and digital QI, how can we solve these challenges and not only in digitalization? And Mr. Schnorr, how can the future of QI be shaped in practice?
Yeah, that is, let me say, very simple, and my colleagues pointed that out. We can solve these problems only, and we are doing so by working together. We need all players of the QI system on one table. And our discussion today is a proof that we do so. We see here the relevant players, the DIN, the DKE, the PTB, the BAM, the DAX, all the players have to work together. And this is mostly important, that all relevant institutions need to coordinate their efforts for the common goal that we have, because we must avoid, and this is also very important, different digital solutions that do not match to each other. Since the responsibilities in quality infrastructure differ between the private and the public sector, this is even more important. Within the public sector, we have different administrative levels, for example, local, regional, federal, and we have to be considered, and all they have to be considered and aligned. Our goal is to end up with a smooth and unified quality infrastructure within a frame of a common standard that is easy to handle for all the users. And this is especially necessary with a view to the challenges of through the digitization and artificial intelligence, as mentioned before. And as I stated before, that can only function if we also work together on a global level. If we work together with international partners, it makes no sense to develop solutions only for Germany or for the European Union. We need international solutions, and that is just what we do with the global project of quality infrastructure, to work together with relevant partners all over the world to find common solutions that are relevant for all the players in this area, relevant for the economy, relevant for the consumers, for trust in the functioning of the QI system also in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Spiteller, you said something about responsibility in your initial statement. Responsibility for the future of QI. Can you elaborate on this a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. The responsibilities is also for us, again, opportunity, something we have in our hands and we need to shape. And this for me is very important. For example, I mean, Mr. Schnorr already mentioned a lot of topics we need to work on. Maybe to add on this, what is really important is we need the right mindset in the QI digital project. We need the experts, and I think this is clear. We also need the next generation here, the young experts, to make sure we have the digital mindset on board and to always ask ourselves, the development we are going through, is it the right way? We should validate this, make sure that we are on the right path. I mean, I'm an engineer, so normally what we do is when there is challenges, we identify the problem, then we slice it, and then we solve it. And we need to do this aligned together worldwide. I fully agree. And also, and this is also what I mentioned before, there is two things which happen and they cannot happen separately. We have the digitalization of standardization and we have the digitalization of the QI. And what is for me key is that we align them and that this goes hand in hand. And this is a win-win situation. They need each other and they need to be developed in the same direction together, that we can profit from each other here.
Thank you. Mr. Lienesch, can I ask you to take the floor on this question? How can the future of QI be shaped in practice in your view?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe a short story. All players in this playing field of QI have to move forward with the same speed. So the weakest or slowest player dominates the speed of the game. And therefore, we should see it as a collective game. And this is the reason why we always in the PDB have to try to integrate our partners. And the partners, what I'm talking about is the international metrology, BIPM, or legal metrology, which is OEML. And also our international metrology group has started to bring these topics on, to these groups, and we discuss it very, very often with them. And I can say that the interest in these things are very high. And also these partners in these regions, like Asia Pacific Legal Metrology Forum is an example, or the Inter-American Metrology System. And in this system, all these people are saying we have to find a solution, but it should be a worldwide solution. So it makes no sense to have solutions which are only running locally. So everybody is saying we need a global approach, and we need this approach coming from the various sectors of the quality infrastructure. This is, I would say, is the best approach. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Finke, what do you think are the first necessary steps in practice to shape the future of QI?
I think the first necessary steps we are already doing. It's what also Mr. Schnorr has said. We have to sit together. We have to think together. How can we put all these different approaches together? We have heard from Mr. Spiteller, we are talking about machine-readable standards. We have heard about metrology clouds and so on. And the point is, for good functioning infrastructure or quality infrastructure, it's absolutely urgent that all these different approaches leads again to the same to the same point. When we want to have a more safer world, also in a digitalized world, then it's absolutely necessary that not every single player or not every single pillar in this system is thinking on its own, how can we improve our system? Because it makes no sense when, for example, the standards are developing things that conformity assessment, the conformity assessment players in the market will not able be to test anymore, or even worse, then when we come to the point of accreditation, that we can say, yes, maybe we believe that you are testing in the right way, but with this developed standards, we are not able to check whether or not this is true or not. So it is absolutely urgent that we work together from the very beginning to share our ideas and to come to common solutions to bring this whole system forward. And of course, and this is the other part, it is one part doing this into Germany, which is of course absolutely necessary. But then afterwards, we have to make the step outside Germany, because it also, and it's what also Mr. Schnorr already said, it does not help if we have a very good solution in Germany, which is not accepted worldwide, or in the other way, we cannot understand what the other countries are doing. This is the other part of the same story.
Thank you. Mrs. Koch, which steps do you consider necessary?
I think the most important step we've already taken with the initiative QI Digital, which has started this year. And here we really work together pragmatically. So everyone has said or talked about, like, we need to sit at a table and work together. In this initiative, we go a step further and we say we pragmatically work together in test beds. So here we create an environment where we can really work on solution in a pragmatic, very market-oriented way. And this allows us to really make use of those opportunities that come with those digital technologies. So artificial intelligence or sensor networks, what they allow is a whole new access to data and an analysis of data that gives us insights that we didn't have any time before. So when you think about those quality assurance processes from the beginning to the end, then we need to integrate all the elements of quality infrastructure from standards, like we need to turn them into smart standards, and the whole conformity assessment can be leveraged by those digital technologies, gaining those deep insights, and at the end of that process, we could have a digital certificate, so to say. So, and to make this a reality, we need to go into those test beds and really do the research, develop the solutions, and then bring them to market. And this cannot be done by BAM alone or by DIN alone, but we all need to work together, find out what are the requirements, and then develop the solutions and bring them to market.
Thank you. Mr. Winterhalter, what do you think is necessary?
It's kind of hard to agree. It's easy to agree, but hard to add anything to what has been said. But I think there's one element missing. I think we have all done our homework. There's digital transformation programs in all the institutions, but now it's time to bring it together. But not to have a super duper plan that involves all institutions, but to start validating what we have already at hand and validate it together. Having real use cases like new technologies, like additive manufacturing, AI, hydrogen, and make pilot projects. Bring, let's say, the ideas that we have in each institution and validate how they will work together. And do it including customers, including real use cases, to make sure that what we have developed, let's say, in our small offices really helps the real world and works together along the whole value chain. I think that's the value. So we have the projects, but now we have to have an initiative that brings all these bits and pieces together and validates them based on real use cases. Is that going to work in the first attempt? No. It's going to be a test step. It's an agile approach. Try and error. We have to learn together. So not any more theoretical thinking about what needs to be done. Try it out. Try it out in the real world, make practical use cases, run pilot activities and learn from them. But learn together. Learn about the gaps that we have missed out between the different process steps. I think that's what we need to do. So we have designed the project in Germany. We have evaluated it. I think funding is secured. So let's get it approved and let's get started and let's act together and learn together. But I mean, since I have a role not only as a German general director of a standardization body, since I'm engaged on the European level and as a vice president on an international level, I think we need to be transparent and share the experience with our European and international partners, that we can actually benefit from the, let's say, the learnings that we are doing in Germany. So don't start to have a huge project international to design the QI digital involving all countries. I mean, now we have to make one step in Germany, show how it works, be transparent and share what we have learned and participate and let everybody else participate and maybe try out similar or different use cases in other countries so we can learn together as a true international community. And I mean, don't wait any longer. I learned from ISO's General Assembly, the future has begun. So we have to act today in order to serve our future common agenda.
Thank you. You all sort of stole me my next question because I wanted to talk about the QI Digital Initiative, but I think we heard a lot about this now already, and which is really interesting. But I want to put one question, at least at Mr. Schnorr. How does the BMWI supports the project? Because we heard a lot about from the institutions, how they work together, but I would like to, not only me, but the audience maybe likes to hear how the BMWI supports this initiative as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is indeed a very important question. We are in the ministry and we are no expert of this area. We have the experts on the table. And our task is to bring the experts on the table to hear what we have to do, what has to be done to shape the future and to develop solutions in all these new fields. So our task is to hear what can we do and then to support the relevant players to find solutions that solve indeed these problems. And we have to discuss in the area of the experts different solutions. Then the players have to agree to the best solution, and then we support them by implementing this solution into the real life. That means with organizational support, but also with financial support, because the development also the institutions need a lot of money for this development, and they cannot finance everything by themselves. So we are also prepared to bring financial support to develop these solutions.
Thank you. I have another question to this, to Mr. Lienesch. Part of the QI Digital is also GAIA-X. Could you give us maybe a very short insight into GAIA-X?
Yeah, a short insight. GAIA-X is one. It's a very important project. What we are having here also, we try to support here from the PDB. Yeah, the idea is, of course, an example. In the moment, we try to start with the DCC, so the Digital Certification Certificate and Calibration Certificate. And therefore, of course, we will need a platform. If we once have created certificates, calibration or whatever, then of course you have to place them somehow. And GAIA-X is an opportunity to have a database that you can give this information to the other players in the field. So we are talking about Metrology Cloud and so on. And in the moment, because GAIA-X, of course, is a possibility, or as a need to have this. But what we are doing in the moment is we start with the DCC and we try to roll out this idea to the world. So in the next year, we will start, for instance, with the summer school and some e-learning training, coaching courses, that we bring this idea to the world. And of course, once they have this, they will, if they create their own certificates, digital certificates, then there will be a need to have a cloud, maybe metrology cloud, or how you would like to say to that. But GAIA-X then, of course, can be the homeland for these ideas, what we try to start with. And therefore, GAIA-X is an upcoming possibility to bring all these ideas together with respect to certificates and so on.
Thank you very much for this insight. My next question concerns the so-called digital product pass. I would like to give a very short introduction what that means to our audience, if you're not so keen into it and not so much into this subject. The EU product policy in 2019 and 2020 received new impetus through the European Green Deal and the Circular Economy Action Plan of the European Union. In both strategy papers of the European Commission, an electronic or digital product passport is mentioned as an essential instrument for climate-friendly and resource-efficient economy. Among other things, this should provide information on the origin, composition, repair and dismantling options of a product, as well as handling at the end of its service life. The topic of digital product passports is also being discussed at national level and is mentioned as a central measure in the environmental policy digital agenda of the Federal Environment Ministry. Even if the topic is currently moving more into focus, a broadly applicable digital product passport has not yet been established in practice. Mr. Winterhalter, which benefits do you expect from a digital product pass as an essential tool for climate-friendly and resource-efficient economy?
To put it very simple, no successful green transformation without the digital transformation. Without available data and connectivity, we will not be able to measure and optimize CO2 footprints or the circularity of our products and value systems. So, there needs to be kind of a clear commitment of also the international standardization and the QI community to support fighting climate change through the evaluation and adaptation of relevant standards. Tomorrow we will have a kickoff event when it comes to developing a standardization roadmap for circular economy, which is a cooperation between DIN, DKE, VDI, which is supported by the Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs as well as the Federal Ministry for the Economy. But fundamental principles like the one you just talked about, like a digital product pass, those principles have actually been already developed and evaluated during a project we call Industry 4.0. So the principle of digital identities and digital product passports that offer the possibility to really connect local data that we have on the product itself, like a digital nameplate with historic information that can be accessed on the web through a centralized, standardized function. That is a breakthrough, and that is something we need. Just imagine, today certification and documentation of each product is based on documents, on paper documents. We ship a ton of paper with each product describing what this is and how it's supposed to be used. If we can do this through a link to the website, we can do certification to a large extent based on virtual information that is accessible on the web. We can save a lot of paper and we can gain a tremendous amount of efficiency if we have unified, standardized principle how to reutilize these digital passports. And that's why it was picked up by the European Commission under the kind of battery directive, but it's a highly generic principle that we should embrace, and that will help us to be more efficient when we turn digital, and digital, as I said, is a prerequisite for the green transformation and to fight climate change.
Thank you. Mr. Schnorr, you'd like to add something? Because we saw you nodding, really supporting these ideas from Mr. Winterhalter.
Yes, I fully support what Mr. Winterhalter said, and I think that this digital product pass is indeed an essential tool for a truly digital economy, because all the relevant information could be stored in an electronically way. And one more sentence to GAIA-X. GAIA-X is indeed, let me say, one of the basis infrastructure for the future, the basis infrastructure for the trustworthy and secure storage of data and the sharing of data. And we need this in the field of QI digital, but we need it also for a lot of other economic sectors. So GAIA-X is indeed an important basic infrastructure for the future. Please let me add one more aspect to the digital product passport. This could, and I think it will, complement the current activities of our federal network agency, the BNetzA, with respect to a market surveillance app. Combining a digital product passport and the market surveillance app, economic operators and consumers could report directly product defects directly to the market surveillance authorities. This could make market surveillance much more efficient and accessible for the consumers. And finally, digital product pass could also support all our efforts for more sustainable products. So I think this is a very, very good instrument for the development of the quality infrastructure.
Thank you. Mr. Spiteller.
Just very quickly to add maybe one point, as we already heard a lot of things about the digital product pass, and I agree to all of them, I have to say. This is essential for a circular economy. It is essential for the Green Deal and for solving the challenges we have in advance. And maybe this is also a very good example, as we have been talking about digitalization before, how digitalization is done in a right way. Because first we had the digital type plate, and this is just an analog product, and then we made it digital. But that is not digitalization. Only with a digital product pass, which is really thinking this way further, we can take benefit of all the things we brought to us by the digitalization. So this we can always keep in mind when we talk about digitalization, that it's not about having a product which was analog and make it digital, but as we do with a digital product pass, we have to really think about the business models, about the opportunities, about the possibilities arising when we rethink something and have this concept here. And I'm sure this will be a successful one, as this will really bring great benefits.
Thank you. Mr. Finke or Mr. Lienesch, Ms. Koch, do you want to add something to this?
Yeah, I can do so. I, of course, fully support what is already said. Maybe just to add one additional point to all of that. What we see actually is a lot of also false certificates on the market. So because it's quite easy to reproduce such papers where maybe a certification body somewhere in the world might be proven something or even did not, and it's not so complicated to make those false certificates. And I think also this could be solved in a certain way by digital product passes, because if you have all along the quality infrastructure line one certificate where you can just check one step back, is this what is written in this certificate? Is this reliable or not? And is the body who has issued the certificate reliable, and so on? So this also really helps, and we are just starting. Mr. Winterhalter already said we should start with the projects, and we are doing something with the P2B together with digital calibration sheets to see how can we adapt digital calibration sheets together with the accreditation marks to see whether or not the calibration company is accredited or not. So just a small add on what is already said. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. An example from my side.
Mr. Lienesch, sorry.
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 An additional topic which we maybe should also have on board is has something to do with smart cities or buildings charging stations of e-cars and so on, and we will have many, many sensors. This huge number of sensors we are talking about millions of sensors. And of course, you need something how to handle these sensors. Do you need intelligent calibration methods and so on and so on? Maybe you can use AI to use these or to use AI to calibrate and to handle all these millions of sensors. Therefore, what we see here is we have to understand how these sensor networks are running. And this has to be also implemented in the QI. Maybe just in another example, how important it is to go to the digital world to understand these new upcoming situation, what we have with respect to our society. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, and we already come to our last question for this panel discussion. And I would like to come back to what we heard initially, our global project, quality infrastructure. We heard a lot about it, and we will hear a little bit more in the next item of the agenda. But I just wanted to put the question first to you, Mrs. Koch. Where do you see the benefits of this project for the future of QI?
I think it was mentioned a lot of times that Germany alone is not the place to design the quality infrastructure because it's just internationally connected. And having a forum where international players can come together gives us the opportunity to just design the quality infrastructure for the challenges that are also global together. And I think that's the beauty of that initiative, and we really should work to make it a practical forum that we can all take the benefits from. And I think that's what we take away from that forum.
Thank you. And Mr. Schnorr, because you're the commissioner, or the BMWI is the commissioner for this project, where do you see the benefits when we're in this project, or when we work in this project and we go further with this project?
I think our panel discussion today has shown the advantage and the benefits that GPQI brings for us. It is indeed an instrument where all the players of the QI work together on national level and work together on international level. And we have here the addition of all the experience of all the players. And then we can have an exchange on different solutions and develop together the best solution. Not only in Germany, not only in Europe, but on an international way. And therefore, I think indeed that GPQI, okay, it was our idea, but I think it was one of the best ideas that we had, that the GPQI implemented by the GIZ is indeed a wonderful instrument to bring the QI into the future.
Thank you very much to all of you for the lively discussion and the interesting insights. We have 4 minutes left, as I just have seen, but we can see many questions are still open, but maybe already on its best way to be solved. But in order to highlight the most important aspects of our panel discussion and what you've said, I would like to ask you, all of you, to take up our first key question again and state in really 3 sentences how we shall master the future challenges of QI. Time-wise, as I said, we have only 4 minutes left. Please imagine you're in an elevator and only have 30 seconds to go to the first floor. So I start again with Mr. Schnorr, and then please give yourself.
I can make it very brief, because I think the most important things I have said before. Let's work together, let's cooperate to find the best solutions for the QI system in the future. And I think the engagement by all the actors on the table, but also on the screens, the engagement of all the actors is here. And we have to use this opportunity to find the best solutions. Thank you very, very much. And thank you again to all the actors today, to all the experts today, that we have this wonderful round to discuss the future of QI. GPQI is the best way to do so. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Finke?
Yeah, thank you. I think, like every other kind of infrastructure, QI need an interlocking of their individual components. All QI stakeholders have to ensure that the biggest task, the digitalization of the QI, is advance together in order not to create any hurdles for the functioning of QI. So the basis of success is therefore to understand the further development of QI in the course of digitalization as a joint task for us together. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Winterhalter?
Number one, the quality infrastructure needs to evolve into a digital quality infrastructure to be able to adequately support the green and digital transformation of economy and society. Second, and we heard it many times, all parties have to work together and validate their efforts based on real use cases and share the results with the international partners to be able to learn together and encourage others to do similar activities. And still stick to the principle, international first, to secure one digital standard, one digital test accepted everywhere.
Mr. Lienesch?
Yes, I would like to use a quote of Professor Ulrich, my president. He likes to say, no nation can prosper without a solid international base for measurement. And I would add, no nation can prosper without a solid digital international base for quality infrastructure. Thank you.
Mrs. Koch?
Yes. So first, GPQI can help to raise the awareness. That's important. Second, we can work together to really explore together how we can design an efficient quality infrastructure. And third, I want to take the opportunity to invite everybody out there to join our initiative QI Digital, because this is really meant to be an ecosystem for all stakeholders. So if you're interested in the use cases or in this topic of developing the quality infrastructure, just go to BAM's website. You find all the information and just join our initiative. I think all of the partners in that initiative are really looking forward to work on this project.
Thank you. And Mr. Spiteller, you got the last word.
The last word, that's good.
Almost the last word.
For me, essential is that the digitalization of QI goes hand in hand with the digitalization of standardization. This needs to be synchronized. They need to benefit from each other, and we need to really see and take the opportunities, not only the challenges. We need to do this with the right experts on board. We need to attract the right mindset, the digital mindset that is essential as well. And we need to do it once, do it right, and do it internationally. And we are able to do it internationally also because of the great work from the people working in the global project quality infrastructure. And I want to use the last words to thank them, the great team, because they were always very helpful in facilitating the exchanges around the world. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. The last word I will have, but because I have to close our discussion now. Thank you very much. We're absolutely on time. And thank you very much for your very interesting insights and your participation. I think we gave a very good overview what the challenges, in a positive way maybe as well, and the future of QI would mean and which steps we have to take. And thank you again, and now I give again over the floor to my colleague Ophelia for the next item on the agenda.